So before we get started on this draw along video of the lion, I just want to take a moment to thank all of you Patreon supporters out there. Without you guys, I wouldn't be able to do any of these videos. So I'm really appreciative to you. If you would like to gain early access to these videos, sometimes up to a month early, sometimes 2 months early. There's no real schedule when I release these draw along videos on my YouTube page, but if you want to gain access early, just go ahead and join me at Patreon. That's patreon.com/art by Ty. And just for $3 a month, you can get all my draw along videos. You can get coloring page downloads, sneak peeks. There's all sorts of stuff. So just go ahead and go over there and check that out. So once again, I just want to thank you, everybody. And let's go ahead and get drawing. Grab your pens and sit down and enjoy this about an hour-long drawing session. And this first one is a lion.
All right. First thing, I'm gonna just outline his head. I really like. We're just gonna do a head too. Lions are so cool. So. I think maybe something like that. So basically you've got almost like a circle here. And let's say his eyes. If you just do almost like the T shape thing here. Like a cross almost. But I'm kind of have him facing, kind of looking in this direction. So here's the center of his head, and then his kind of nose grows out. So mostly this part of any of these drawings, that's why I like using this kind of light pen. I always say if you can, it's best to just use a pen. Then you can't erase, and you're kind of forced with all the things you draw, and it sort of makes for you end up being able to add really cool stuff to it because you have to trying to fix stuff. So that part to me is what's fun. But so if you can't afford one of these kind of thinner pens, this is a good time that you could use a pencil. What we want to try to do is stay away from erasing. So he's got a line down here. This is going to be his mouth. I guess these are maybe called the jowls. I don't really know. Terminology is not my best. I just draw what I can. So I think like if you can get that sort of look, almost like a top of a house there. And so this is basically just a circle here. And right about on this point, we're going to try to put kind of like that shape there. Yeah, I think that would work. I don't draw lions all that much. I really like them though. Top half, if you think of the head as a third, there's top half, the center, and the bottom half. Let's put these eyes just underneath the top half and on the upper half of the center line. That's what I drew those lines across there. That way I can get them to line up. And the shape, we're just gonna put like I got to gather my thoughts, keep them safe in the box, looking for focus I've lost. Cost me a year of my life and jeopardize the love of my wife. Every day it is gone is a day with the price. For a penny of soul, one eye. And it's kind of like, you can think, here's the nose. Here, I'll put in the whole nose here. So there's this portion of the nose that's kind of like, this is like the pink. Something like that. That's what we're going for. And then the rest of this is like dark, kind of black portion of the nose. So the corner of his eye, this is about just. I think I probably should have had a little more distance there, but that's okay. But it's kind of corners up from the corner of this portion up to there. That's where you can know where to place his eye as far as in relation to the nose. I have a tendency sometimes my eyes end up closer together than I'd like them to. But again, what I always say is, whenever you look at this, you're gonna know it's a lion. So I am gonna scoot that eye over a little bit. It's kind of can work this out as much as you want because it's gonna be black. It's gonna be colored in black, so you'll be able to hide a lot of the lines. And then his other eye. Let's go about right here. Drawing out that line across there is very helpful to make sure you get your eyes lined up pretty good. I don't use that technique much when I'm just doing a free form, when I'm just drawing like my own kind of creature or create. But when I'm trying to make something look that has, two eyes, a nose, and a mouth, I'll use the, I don't even know what they call it, like the T technique, down the center. Because it is useful. Okay, so there's that shape for his eyes. So these shapes are going to be filled in with a lot of black. Let's go ahead and put in the eyeballs now. So it's just a nice little circle on this one, pretty much in the center. And it's about that size. And this one, since his face is a little angled, is a slightly bit more towards inside the nose area here. Yeah, there we go. Now, they got these cool little, tiny little pupils, usually is what you can see inside of a lion's eye. So first thing I want to do, I'm going to draw out the highlights. And we're just going to do the two little highlights there. Two little highlights there. And then just the little pupil right there in the center of that circle. Fill that in, just make it start feeling alive. I always tell people, right when you put I like to get the eyeballs in there first, because then it starts to feel alive. Yeah. See? Okay. So let's see, let's put kind of like their eyebrows. So on this, when you start filling out like in a on the face of something that's hairy or furry, this is when you can really, when you're trying to shape it out, you can do lots of little lines because they're going to get hidden in the little strokes that you do to do the hair or fur. So, and I'm kind of going for, I don't like this center line. I think is in kind of a weird place on mine. So I'm going to try to move it over here a little bit more to make him look more like on his face is on an angle. And I'm going to try to build this up like this little center portion in his forehead. And it's kind of got this like his eyebrow here. Just kind of trying to shape that out a little bit, so it kind of looks like he's, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a scowl? No, shoot, I don't know what word I'm looking for there, but hopefully you get what I'm saying. If you've ever done a drink and draw with me, you know while I'm drawing and talking, it's hard for me to do both. So sometimes I struggle finding the word I want to say. And so when the drink and draws, I just tell people, like, just shout out the word if you know what word I'm trying to say, rather than me struggling to. If you know anybody that like plays the guitar or plays an instrument, it's like trying to have a conversation with them while they're playing. You kind of see, you're talking to them and you can see in their eyes they're almost glazing over. They're at least that's the case. I mean, that's just something I experience quite a bit. I will also ramble quite a bit when I do these commentaries. I'm in my studio alone. I have my headphones on, listening to music. And it's a bizarre thing to be talking out loud while I'm drawing. But I do want to start doing this. It's just like with this whole COVID thing, and then I have no shows. So it's like a paradigm shift for me. I want to keep providing content for people. I'm gonna have collectors that'll keep buying my work, but for me to really be able to just continue working, I've had to try to figure out, as is everybody, but new ways to earn the living with the artwork. I hate over exploiting or like overdoing things and asking my collectors to pay for all this and all this and all this, but I feel like with these drawing sessions and tutorials and this like extra content, I think it's probably worth it. So I've never been anyone to try to gouge anybody. I like creating my artwork. The only way I can do that on the level that I do is it's got to be the only thing I do. I don't have time to have a second job right now. I mean, I've been living as an artist for making a living as an artist for the last 15 years, so I know what I'm doing, but it's definitely been quite a change with all the shows and public gatherings being closed. So anyway, I kind of didn't have like exact words to describe what I'm doing there, so hopefully you're just kind of following along with that. And these are still light lines, and it's just kind of shaping out his head still. It's starting to look like a lion though, huh? I really love this pen that my wife gave me for my birthday. Most people know I only use just like standard ballpoint pens. I have my whole career. Then I figured, well, I've been doing that long enough. Let's just have some fun and try some good tools. Let's just add them in. I still use my ballpoint pen for the main bulk of the work, but okay. So I'm kind of working out the shape of his chin here. It's mostly hair, so I'm just working the hair kind of goes. Let me see. Let me grab a piece of paper here and show you what I'm talking about. So this is kind of how I do my hair. So if I have this chin here, and then I have this area as the cheek, there's areas where the hair comes out of. So let's say his eyes are here, and this isn't even necessarily a lion. Let's just, okay, there's his eyes, nose, mouth. So figure out where the hair is coming from. So there are portions. So this portion of hair comes this way, these grow out this way, these grow out this way, and the chin ones go out like this. So when you figure out where hair is coming from, then you work that. When you're just doing the kind of the light outlines of it to kind of, sorry, my pen. Let me just give you a demonstration. So all these hairs on the end, you want to just do kind of lines. Make sure they're all kind of starting from this point, because that's where the hair grows out, and the end of them can kind of swirl out. So then when I get to the chin, it's like just these random kind of swirly lines, but on the chin they're all growing out here, and then when they get here they're kind of growing out down here, and when they get to here they're growing out like this. So when you're doing these lines, it's like, I mean, it takes lots of practice, but you'll start to figure it out, and you just kind of work. It's a good exercise to just draw something like that simple and just try these sort of movements with your pen. Just a quick little like swirl out, and then you can build on top of those to start giving it detail. But by doing it this way, all your hairs are growing the same way, and then it, when you look at the piece, you can see like, okay, that's where all those hairs grow from. Same thing up here, these grow up here, and then when it gets to the center of the head, they start to grow like that. In most creatures or things that have hair, that's about how hair and fur work. So there's that. That's to give you an idea of what I'm doing here with the chin. So just doing these light lines, and then you build on top of those as you start adding your details in. But right now we're just doing the outlines. Okay, now see, like the lion's cheekbones are probably a little bit bigger than that before the mane starts coming in, but I'm comfortable with it. It looks like a lion to me. I'm cool with that. Like I said, with this tutorial, I want to try to keep it light, easy, and with most of these, I'm going to try to keep them nice and quick. With the drink and draws, those are 2 to 3 hours long, so I can spend more time to kind of work with you. But these ones, I think you kind of want to just get into something real quick. And you want to, if you're like me, like I want it now. People always say, "Wow, you must be patient," but I'm actually not. I'm very impatient, and when I want something, or I want it now. I'm not good at waiting. So with my drawing style, I figured it's just been my style my whole life. I know how to create it quickly and effectively, and hopefully that's what I'm sharing with you. But still stylistic. I don't want to cheat it. I'm sort of a perfectionist on certain levels, but I don't like to erase, and I hope you're not erasing, because when you have a mistake or something, it's when you can just add the cool stuff in there. Okay, I've always struggled with where to place the ears. So they kind of like from the corner of his eye here, I'm gonna say maybe about this distance, a pretty good distance where the ear is. So if you can kind of gauge how your ear is gonna fit in here, then you start building the mane around it, and that's helpful. But I do always kind of place them a little wrong, where they always sort of look weird to me when I look back on my drawings. I'm like, oh wow. But that's okay. So just gonna do a shape like that. I feel like that's a good placement, and maybe like go all the way across like here to his other ear. I'm gonna say maybe about right here. So there's like imaginary line right there. So I can kind of gauge where I want to put this ear. And I can already sense that that's too far out. But that's okay. Maybe about that. Okay, there's his ears. Now I'm gonna build. They've got like the hair around the ear and inside the ear sort of grows out of it here, and then yeah, these ones are definitely trickier and will take a lot more practice. But yeah, just Google an image of a lion and just practice this sort of stuff. And then the hair kind of, it's more like a bushy kind of hair right around the ear. Here, put some of those in, and then that's like the top part of his mane here. Let's see, maybe coming out right about here. I'm no Bob Ross, I can tell you that. I'll get there, I guess. I'm talking about as far as explaining to you what I'm putting in and where to add it and how to add it. Mostly, I'm going to try to tell you somewhat like here's this, but you're going to have to kind of just follow along until I get to the point where I know exactly like what words I want to use to explain certain things. Also, hair fall, all the fur and hair, they're always going to be some of our hardest creations just because. You'll get used to how I operate and then it becomes funny or annoying. Either way, you'll come to know me. And feel free to leave a comment, you know, if there's something you would like me to explain better, or if you have a suggestion of what would make certain things a little easier for you, feel free to comment, let me know. But don't leave dick comments or like, I'm not here for that. I don't need any of that. So I'm kind of just trying to build this out a little bit, and as I'm doing it, I can kind of see where I need to add a little bit more, or where I need to try to take some out. I'm trying to form his head there. I mean, I'm kind of happy with how that's looking so far. You basically, when I'm working with like the hair and fur on the out, I don't like to draw out the shape. Like, for example, if like say I ended up, so I only like to draw out the face that doesn't have all of the hair. So we drew out his face like that. I don't like to, where the hairline kind of ends out here, I don't like to do that, because then when you're adding the hair, that line, those lines right there are really difficult to hide, because they're lines moving and then they're perpendicular to these lines and they're really difficult. So I've always tried to avoid that. I tried to build the shape. I always tried to build the shape by using that technique I was talking about, where you just have you're kind of fanning out these lines, and then the things that are definitely there, the ears, stuff like that. And then see, when we get down to here, the mane, this part of the mane grows out from here, and this part of the mane grows out from here. So we're gonna try to do that sort of vibe. And then the hair grows here and here. So this is what we're gonna try to do, and without drawing an outline to get there, because those lines are really difficult to hide if you do that. So these lines, when you're using lines like these ones are easier to hide. You could do something like this. So if you know there's this whole patch, kind of like this patch of hair on the mane that grows like pretty much like something like this, you could just kind of outline it like that. And then when you're kind of giving it some depth, then you can start doing stuff like this. So these kind of go out and curl in. The outer ones sort of go out, and then as you get inside, they start kind of growing in towards them. Again, hair and fur and stuff like this, these are, I don't know if you want to say advanced, but they're definitely something that you want to practice over and over again. And then you'll start getting used to the movement of the pen and how you kind of place, how you'll end up placing hair. Just study animals. Go online and Google animals and just kind of stare at pictures of them, see where hair grows out of. You'll start getting used to it. And what's good, once you start figuring out like how things, like nature's way of, like where eyes are placed, or it's pretty much the same on all animals. But once you get there, then you can start making your own adjustments to what fits your style. Like my style, my eyes are always close together, and that's okay. That's part of my style. So it's not something that I really try to correct, because I'm not trying to draw an exact everything. It's my version of it. So what I'm showing you is some techniques to start building your own style. And then when you have your own style, like what we find, like if you join us on a drink and draw, you'll see people are still coming to the drink and draws, same people. It's not like they're learning anything from me. We're just kind of drawing along because they've been doing it with me for long enough. They've already developed their own style. And sorry, I got distracted by a text. But yeah, it's cool now to watch people drawing along with me, like one of my concepts, and seeing their styles. Everybody has their own style, and I have no problems with you initially starting with using my style. You'll start to get your own style out of kind of trying it. I had early on when I was drawing, I tried to I really loved Salvador Dali, so my style I tried to create like him, and then I ended up kind of making my own style out of it. So anyway, it's not like you're here for like a lecture. I know you're just here, but I always feel like I need to fill this dead air with information. So feel free to mute me if you're sick of hearing me. So there, I think we've got like a little lion there. So this part of this mostly is growing out of his neck. Well, maybe not. Maybe some of it kind of comes down here, but see, so once you kind of have built that out, I'm going to put him on Oh, no, let's see. Once you have that outlined, then you're free to do whatever you want. And so there you go. I'm done with the outline pen. That kind of gave us our shape. I'm satisfied with that. Enough that I'm ready to start adding some details to it. And then I'll go back to my preferred tool, which is just the ballpoint pen. Just a standard pen. And so I can't decide if I want to try to use this. Well, so what you're going to find on all of my drawings, I guess probably in my... This is going to be the first probably drawing I do on the Patreon account, but all my drawings, the light source is top right. So the light is up here. So anything that you're shading, the shading goes from the bottom left. So anything down here is darker, and then it gradually gets lighter. That's on all my pieces. So top right is your light source, casts the light, everything on the edges here, on the top right, collecting all the light. If it overhangs, then it causes a drop shadow. And also I'm right-handed, so I work left to right. So usually I'll start all my shading up here and move my way down. The first thing I always pretty much do, though, once I have the eyes created, I like to get in and just darken that in. It really starts to make it feel like it's alive, whatever you're drawing. And then you're determined to give your drawing the respect that it deserves. I don't know what I'm trying to say. So we're going to fill in this area. This is the first page in a new sketchbook. It's usually my favorite page. I like buying new sketchbooks and new drawing books, so I never really ever finish them. I just like buying them. So I'm usually the first 6 pages in all my sketchbooks are full of drawings, and then that's the end of it. Just gonna fill this in here. Sometimes the hard part about doing these videos, for me, is I do like to give my drawings some time. Most of my drawings that I sell, as the original pieces to the collectors, are drawings that I spend 20 to 30 hours on. I obviously can't sit here and do a 20-hour drawing lesson, so I have to try to keep myself focused on, like, let's do this quickly, but not too quick. But I don't want to, I don't want to draw something that's just kind of shite, but I do have to work quickly, and so I have a certain shading technique that I do when I'm trying to do something a little faster. It's just less pen strokes, and it's a little wider, so I can, that's what I haven't really come up with a name for it, but it's my quicker technique for drawings that I'm trying to just do quickly, or just like sketch out. So that's what we're going to keep these two. But it's the same technique that I use for when I'm doing a really detailed drawing. The lines are closer together. It's a little more time spent in the shading, but it's still the exact same shading techniques. But on the quick versions, there's just less. They're a little wider apart. So once you have these dark areas filled in like this, then it starts to feel like you're working on something, you're going somewhere. So it gives you like some energy and confidence to say like, oh, I'm going to keep going. I want to keep pushing this along. And even if it doesn't look like in your eye, if you're like, oh, this just looks bad, that's okay. Just keep working through it. You just keep building, adding. Eventually it's going to look like, I mean, that's the hope. I mean, even if it doesn't turn out, if it turns out just really bad all the way, that's okay. It's all practice. Your mind is like a muscle. I mean, your mind is, like it's like a workout. You got to keep exercising. So even if you end up drawing something that just looks awful, you are still getting working the motion of your hand, working your mind. That's important. So people always ask me, how do you stay away from, or do I ask if I ever get writer's block, like writer's block, but I don't. Sometimes I'm just bored, like I just don't feel like drawing, but once you sit down and start drawing, and if you don't judge what you're drawing, you're just kind of doing it to draw for the exercise of it. You'd be surprised. Anyway, okay, let's put in some, these are like just these dots that are where the whiskers come out. They're almost random, not really. I mean, let's see. I can do a really light line like that to kind of to let me know. I just do like these little scribbly circles almost. Put a few over here. All right. I want to just, so this, his whole eyebrow here is going to do a little drop shadow into his eyeball here. So I'm just going to do a light drop shadow over that, and then a little bit of shading on the edges of the circle. Sort of makes the eyeball sink down in there a little bit more. Yeah, see? Okay, I just had to mentally remind myself I'm gonna have to move into the quick shading. Okay, so now the hairs in the face area, these are much smaller hairs. So what I like to do is I'm going to start doing some shading, and then I can just kind of build off of that. So his nose is going to drop some shadow, and his cheekbone's going to drop some shadow. So keep this kind of light. And by keeping it light, then you can layer on top of it where you want it to seem darker, or where it's, where the shadows are going to be darker. I'm kind of just working my way down. I probably would have normally started right about up here. As these hairs these ones up here are slightly longer. And along the edge, that's where it will probably be a little darker, along the edge where the mane comes in. So you can kind of make that a little darker. And then like these, I don't know what to call this. Where there's the crease where his eye is, what do I want to call that? His eyebrow, maybe? No, I don't know. that's kind of like a little, you know, it sticks out from the head a little bit. So that's going to drop a little shadow here. You know, and I think for these commentary drawings, like little tutorials, I'll probably not do a whole lot of my weird stuff that I normally do, because that's so specific to my style. But feel free to add any of your own, you know, like some people, you know, you always see like I have the X's on mine, 3 X's. Or like an additional eyeball. Let's see if I can squeeze one in right here. I'm a big fan of the third eye. So see, I'm just gonna drop a third eye in there. But I think for the most part, I probably won't do a lot of those, just so you can do your own sort of stuff. Unless I'm kind of definitely inspired to do something. But with this piece, I just wanted to work out. I haven't drawn a lion in a little while, and I know a lot of people really like lions, so I figured it'd be cool to do a little tutorial on how to draw a lion, because how to draw a lion in my style. But it's pretty much it's how I would draw a lion. How about that? And these are like the forehead worry wrinkle. What do they call them? Worry wrinkles, maybe. On a human. So that hairs kind of grow out this way, and then these ones grow out that way. So if you keep your shading lines going in the same direction that the hair goes as well, that'll help. That helps create that. So usually it's a little darker right around here on the lion's face. Most of it, after you have those lines, kind of, you know, this outlines, the way I just put wherever I want. The shape is there. It's a lion. You look at that, it's a lion. Everything else that you shade in here is pretty much gonna stay a lion. The rest of this stuff is just some additionals. And I don't know, like, if really this goes here or this goes here, but I don't really care. Because I have the outline of the head. That's all. Like, usually, like, people always ask, do you use source materials? And if I haven't drawn something for a while, I'll look at something, I'll Google something, and I'll use that to kind of draw the outline of it. And then everything else is just my version of what that is. Because I'm the creator. I can create what I want. So all of this hair over here is going to drop some shadow. Let's work out these cheekbones a little. I never knew what it was. Maybe I like to spit. These things came together real quick. Beer drinking became relevant. There's doing drugs that like the dummy. Put a few of those in there. So mostly, this is usually on most lions, it's kind of more white around here. So I don't like to add too much. I better look up what these are called. I always want to call them the jowls, this portion, but I don't even think that's right. Usually when I'm drawing an animal that has these, I don't like to fill this in with too much, because that's most of them is usually kind of mostly white. And you don't want them to kind of get lost, because they are sticking out. Those are kind of out the furthest, so. Okay. A lot of times, like, I'll just be I kind of will start working down here, and then as I'm working down into here, one of my eyes sort of gazes off over to here, and I start seeing something like, oh, I gotta get back to that. I want to fix that. So sometimes just I bounce kind of all around when I'm working on something. Like I'll notice like, oh, I did really dark shadows here. I could probably start working some darker shadows over to here. It's almost like working in clay, maybe. I haven't worked in clay for a long time, but you kind of just keep building onto it. And eventually, it's going to end up looking like what you went out to draw. We sat down here to draw a lion, and I am looking at a lion right here. And I'm not BSing, like that's about as simple as I've always approached my drawing. I don't like to get caught up in, oh, it doesn't look like this, it doesn't look like this. I mean, when I'm working, I'm always feeling like, oh, this doesn't look good, this doesn't look good, this doesn't look good. But I have been doing it long enough to know that it will always end up working out, and what you don't think looks good, that's where you add on until it does look good. And then if you add it on too much and you can't fix it, then oh well. I'm gonna just do this. Well, shoot. Now I wish I didn't do this, because now I just remembered the Lion King has something like that. But I don't know. I just like to do cool little things like that. This is not a scar. This is like a design in his fur. He's got two coming out of there. It also helps build the shape. It helps round it out a bit. Kind of gives it a 3D look. Like I like to use lines like this. By rounding them, it helps even kind of make that area look like it's just a little trick to give it some more three-dimensional vibe. So like these lines that I'm doing now are really kind of fast, wide lines, and that's, like I'm kind of trying to pick it up a little bit. And so I'm not sure how long I've been drawing, but I'm sure it's probably already been like an hour. Now this hair here. So now let's see if we can. Maybe I can try to show you some hair shading technique or fur. Well, I guess this is more like. I mean, it's fur, but it's very hairy. So you have these patches. You know where you built them. So you know that, like, so this patch of hair is out, so that will end up dropping a little bit of shadows underneath it, so around here. So a lot of times I'll just do a little bit of shading right underneath that. And then right here, it's going to be a little bit darker. And so underneath here, this is going to have some shadow because it's kind of underneath. Maybe not too much there, but I'm just going to darken into a few lines based off of those kind of lighter lines that I drew out at first. And I just kind of follow those movements. But again, the hair and fur stuff needs. I just suggest spending some time figuring out that motion, this movement. Just practice it. Eventually it'll start feeling very natural to you. It is for me, right? So it's so natural. It's difficult for me to try to explain how I'm doing it because I have practiced so long on it. But hopefully you'll do enough of these videos with me that you'll start being able to really just start banging out all kinds of creatures. It's a great tool to have too. I mean, once you've got it figured out and you've done it practice, then you start building your own creatures. I mean, it's just, yeah, it's always best to visually study or practice trying drawing them. All these creatures that are of this planet, because they were all created so awesomely. Well, animal ears are always tricky, especially ones that are very furry, where the hair kind of comes out, because it's, you want it to be dark inside here, because there's, it's a lot of not much light is getting inside the ear there, but there's so much hair that grows out of there. It's hard to get it nice and dark and like have a gradual shading. So I've kind of just come up with this technique where I'll just do some kind of dark spots. And I don't really know how to explain that to you. It's always been tricky for me. You could just fill that in, I guess, if you wanted to, but then I don't know, it doesn't look I don't know, it sort of looks odd. That to me still looks like that's his ear. Remember, there's like a whole kind of bushiness here, so that might drop some shadow here. If I was going to be spending if this was going to be a piece that I was going to just spend lots of hours on, I would go through each one of these sections of patches of hair, and I would almost not shade each hair, but pretty close. I would spend a lot of time working out just kind of building this hair and making it thicker. The more lines you add in there, sometimes it starts to make it thicker, but sometimes it can get really messy. So yeah, it's just really tricky. But I think the main trick to it is to keep your lines all going. You know, figure out the patch that you're working on and keep all your line movements coming, the hair follicles coming out of the same area and kind of working in the same direction. And I think you're going to end up being just fine. Oh, I got to change this song that I'm listening to. It's a good song, but I can't think. It's a Rage Against the Machine song. I wouldn't be able to talk and listen to that at the same time. So let's see, I'm gonna kind of rush this area here. But down here let's see, I think what the word I'm looking for is. The roots, that was the word I was looking for. At the roots of the hair, it's gonna be darker. And so there's all these hairs that are behind this front patch of hair. They have their own roots as well. So you can kind of do a little bit of darker there. That'll kind of make it a little more 3D. So you can see that it's not all the hairs are just from the right of his forehead. These hairs are going. So these ones are back behind these front ones. I really hope that everyone who's participating in this is feeling good about what you're drawing. And if you're not, it's okay. Just keep working it out. Just keep going at it. That practice makes perfect is such a cliche, but there's a reason it is, because that's the truth. I've been drawing with the ballpoint pen since I was in elementary school. But throughout my 20s, I didn't do a whole lot of drawing. And now I just forgot what my point was going to be, but this constant practice and movement of the pen is how you end up getting to a level that you can be proud of. I'm proud of where I'm at in my drawing, but I'm not satisfied. I'm proud, but I'm not satisfied. I always want to improve and get better and challenge myself. And whatever you're here for, I hope you're enjoying it. I think I do enjoy it. The jury's still out on how I feel about talking while I'm drawing. Like actually verbally discussing everything I'm working on. I can have a conversation with somebody while I'm drawing when I'm just talking about, whatever. But actually verbally discussing what I'm drawing and how I'm doing it, it's so bizarre, and I'm still not quite sure how I feel about it. But I can tell you I am excited that people are enjoy drawing along with me. And so that's made me be open up a little bit more and be a little more willing to keep doing these, especially now. Since I have a little less traveling, the galleries are still sort of struggling just because, yeah, it's going to be a strange time for me and for a lot of artists right now. I mean, it's a strange time for everybody, but I can really only discuss from my own perspective. I know there are so many other people out there that are just struggling even worse, so I always start hearing myself talk. I feel stupid when I'm complaining about something. Like, but everybody has their own struggles, right? No matter where their place is in the world. This part has always been tricky for me too, right here, where the chin meets, you know, because most of the time, especially on lions, this is white, this chin hair, so separating it from all this hair under here can be tricky, because you don't want it to seem like, oh, his hair's so long down there. I don't know if I'm completely satisfied with how I work around that, but I think maybe the trick is, because it's drop, you know, this is all underneath here, so this is going to get a lot of shadow. If you have more time to work on it, you can definitely kind of make that shadow down here. Hopefully while you're watching, I mean, I guess also you can just kind of watch me work this out and then go back and draw it. But hopefully, it's hard to be objective for me watching it. But I imagine if you're watching it, you can kind of see how I'm doing this. So I hope that that's the case anyway. I think maybe this could be shaded a little bit more, because all this hair is, the side of the mane is sort of dropping a shadow on him here. This is usually what I'll do though, as I'm coming to an end, because we're kind of coming to the end here. I'll start going back and just shading a little bit more. Where I know shadows will be cast. Where's my water bottle? I'm thirsty. keep this hair out here a little, well, no. I was going to say I was going to not do as much detail to it because it's almost like it's kind of back there, but it might look a little weird, so I'll just kind of fill this in a little. As we go along and as time passes and we do more of these together, you'll start getting used to certain things. Well, these hairs go here. I feel like maybe these will go, just kind of grow out here and go. Lions are so cool. You can see how much quicker I'm moving, so I'm really trying to get out of this, so. But just consider, I think we're probably about an hour and a half into this. The drawings that I do that, I end up on gallery walls or that I sell to my collectors, I will spend 20 to 30 hours on those, so you can imagine how much more detail you can add in these. Yeah, I think we got a lion there. Sometimes this is where I'll start adding in things like, I like doing rivets. These are like little rivets growing off of his nose here. Something I've always liked to do. All right, I'm gonna call that good. Oh, you know what? Let's put in some whiskers. A big one there, big one there, big one there, a couple of small ones, some small ones here, a couple of small ones there. We also have these whiskers that kind of grow, sensory whiskers there. Okay, well, thanks for joining me, and thanks for let your friends know to join us on the Patreon. And I'll do as many of these. I'm for sure we'll do one a month. But as of right now, I'm kind of planning on doing at least one a week. So that's a lot of content you can get. Your additional content you're going to get from me for, I think, pretty fair price. So thanks for joining me, and please let your friends know. And then after, like, if you do a drawing and you want to post a drawing on social media or something, I just ask that you hashtag Art by Ty and drawing with Ty. I would really appreciate that. Then people can see. Thanks for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see some more videos, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you can keep caught up with me on YouTube. And go ahead and start watching some more of my videos. Cheers.